Okay, Joe. As I was saying, our Martian women are going to be blonde because, see, just because. Ray Bradbury, the concrete mixer. A few years ago, Jack dropped the C from his name and became Jack. J-A-K. He called me up after breakfast one morning to tell me this. He said he was frying bacon for breakfast and that all his roommates were away. He said he was walking around stark naked. He could have been telling the truth. I don't know. I could hear something spitting and hissing in the background that could have been bacon, or maybe it was just static on the line. Jack keeps a journal in which he records the dreams he has about making love to his ex-girlfriend Nikki, who looks like Sandy Duncan. Nikki is now married to someone else. In the most recent dream, Jack says Nikki has a wooden leg. Sandy Duncan has a glass eye in real life. Jack calls me up to tell me this dream. He calls us to say that he is in love with the woman who does the Braun coffee maker commercial, or the one with the short blonde hair, like Nikki, and eyes that are dreamy and a little too far apart. He can't tell him that from the commercial if she has a wooden leg, but he watches TV every night in the hopes of seeing her again. If I were blonde, I could fall in love with Jack. Jack tells me the first line. He calls me with the first line of a story. Most of my friends are two-thirds water, he says. And I say this doesn't surprise me. And he says no. That this is the first line. That there's a Philip K. Dick novel, I tell him, that has a first line like that. But not exactly, and I can't remember the name of the novel. I'm listening to him while I clean out my father's refrigerator. The name of the Philip K. Dick novel is Confessions of a Crap Artist, I tell Jack. What a novel, he says. He says that he followed a woman home from the subway accidentally. He says that he was sitting across from her on the number 1 uptown and he smiled at her. This is a bad thing to do in New York when there isn't anyone else on the subway car traveling up past 116th Street. When it's 1 o'clock in the morning, even when you're Asian and not much taller than she is, even when she made eye contact first, which is what Jack said she did. Anyway, he smiled and looked away. She looked away. She got off at the next stop, 125th, and so did he. 125th is his stop. She looked back, and when she saw him, her face changed and she began to walk faster. Was she blonde? I asked casually. I don't remember, Jack says. They came up on Broadway. Jack's just a little bit behind her. And then she looked back at him and crossed over to the east side. He stayed on the west side so she wouldn't think he was following her. She walked fast. He dawdled. She was about a block ahead when he saw her cross at LaSalle, toward him, towards Claremont and Riverside, where Jack lives on the 5th floor on a rundown brownstone. I used to live in this building before I left school. Now I live in my father's garage. The woman on Broadway looked back and saw that Jack was still following her. She walked faster. He says he walked even more slowly. By the time he came to the corner market on Riverside, the one that stays open all night long, he couldn't see her. So he bought a pint of ice cream and some toilet paper. She was in front of him at the counter, paying for a carton of skim milk and a box of dish detergent. When she saw him, he thought she was going to say something to the cashier, but instead she picked up her change and hurried out of the store. Jack says the lights on Claremont are always a little dim and fizzy, and sounds are muffled, as if the street is underwater. In the summer, the air is heavier and darker at night, like water on your skin. I say, I remember that. He says it up ahead of him. The woman was flickering under the street bulb like a street light, like a light bulb. What do you mean, like a light bulb? I asked. I can hear him shrug over the phone. She flickered, he says. I mean, like a light bulb. He says that she would turn back to look at him and then look away again. Her face was pale. It flickered. By this point, he says, he wasn't embarrassed. He wasn't worried anymore. He felt almost as if they knew each other. It might have been a game they were playing. He says that he wasn't surprised when she stopped in front of his building and let herself in. She slammed the security door behind her and stood for a moment, glaring at him through the glass. She looked exactly the way Nicky looked, he said, when Nicky was still going out with him. When she was angry at him for his being late, or for misunderstanding something. The woman behind the glass pressed her lips together and glared at Jack. He says when he took his key out of his pocket, she turned and ran up the stairs. She went up the first flight of stairs and then he couldn't see her anymore. He went inside and took the elevator up to the 5th floor. On the 5th floor, when he's getting out, he says that the woman who looked like Nicky was slamming shut the door of the apartment directly across from his apartment. He heard the chain slide across the latch.